We are live. I am alive. I am alive. Mute the microphone. So, good evening. I am Wiola Diamondheart, and today I have a pleasure to have a beautiful person, amazing manifester, Dominic Knight. And I will read that. The mindset architect, experts in the realms of neuro-linguistic programming and clinical hypnotherapy, the guy who optimizes human performance, and I know that because I experienced it. Yes, here we are talking about that wonderful book, The End Gamers. The End Gamers. I am really interested in that, the end results, how we become the architects of our destiny. But about that later. I'll bring you my amazing, extraordinary person here. So good evening, Mr. Dominic.
Hi, thank you as well, Wiola, for inviting me back. Honored to be here.
Yes, not only here, but soon you are going to speak on our urban retreat too, but about that later. And now it's like, because you are that very famous hypnotherapist, having been working in Harley Street for many years, and doing those beautiful sessions for those amazing giant companies like Google, IBM, and some others. And like, how did you do that? How did you do that?
Well, it all built organically. It was the better I became, or the more I improved, the more the results would start to flood in. So it wasn't even a matter of, in my mind, I thought, well, one day I want to speak at Google or X, Y, and Z. It was as I would improve, things would start gravitating towards me, opportunities, and then I would just seize them. And it's very much about whatever is going on within you is an expression on what's going on in the outside world. So as you improve, the rest of the world improves. In terms of, drawing into your life the things that you want, it's like you must become that. And it's like the things that you desire the most, it must feel really natural, like you already have it. And there's a deservedness that comes into that side of things as well, where you feel not like entitled, you know that you've done the necessary things, that becomes a part of who you are.
It's like, because you are that hypnotherapist and you're using NLP in your practice, or you're combining, you get that powerful combo. I've seen how it works, and I always think like I am like special tough cookie, that nothing works on me, and yet I manifest things quite easily. Sometimes I find it difficult, and here it's the question to you. It's like how to overcome those blocks, how to, as you said before, become that without having to look backwards. Oh, I don't deserve, like I am not good enough, because this has to be wiped off somehow, right?
Of course, because it's the resistance points that one sets up within themselves that creates the obstacles, and also creates the what's called partial manifestations. It's like sometimes someone really desires something, it doesn't happen, but they'll see a sign of it. That's not a full manifestation, right? And the reason that it's a partial manifestation is that person hasn't quite yet got to that feeling state and embodied the state of receiving what they want. So they've interfered with that whole process. There's something which I'd like to touch upon, and I'll break it down as much as I can. People have problems in their lives, and they have things they can't manifest because of one thing, which is, yes, those resistance points, but they remember. So if someone has, let's say they're afraid of an elevator, or they're afraid of flying, what are they doing? They're remembering some past reference point that was difficult for them, and then they're recreating it. They're not thinking. Thinking is very different to remembering. So thinking is being in the present moment and directing your mind towards your desires. Now, here's the thing. If you attempt to contrive the feeling, like you try and force it or pretend, that's not what it is. What that does is it will not bring about the result. What brings about the result is a very specific feeling which is evoked. That comes via the transmission of the unconscious mind. So when the transmission comes to the conscious mind, it creates a connection which we call the subconscious. It creates something within that. Then when one is able to stabilize it, like, well, yeah, I know it's done, there's no question, then there's a gestation period. It's just a matter of time until those things start happening that you desire the most.
I am a woman and I'm very impatient, even though I teach Kundalini yoga and I should be like
Yes.
sitting on the lotus flower and be so blissful. And but my real true self, with that ADHD, very busy mind, like constantly thinking, and I should be here, I should be there, like doing this and da. Then to really focus on that wow factor, that feeling, that having it right now, it's like, how do I bring myself to that beautiful plateau where everything manifests?
Well, you've said something without even realizing it unconsciously, like this plateau, but what you mean, like equilibrium.
Yeah.
In actual balance, that's when things appear. They don't appear when we're in moments of desperation, we're trying to force things, or we're completely down and out. No, it's in those moments where we let go, then it starts happening. Why? It's because you're in equilibrium, you're in balance. Now, when one's mind is all over the place, or there's fear, or there's impatience, what you're doing at that moment is you're embodying your human self, your ego self. See, our human selves are full of all sorts of things. How will this happen? I need to figure this out. Let me try this. Let me try that. So that's ego. That's your human, your corporeal self. What you are to do at that moment is recognize that's what's going on. Now, bear with me. If you recognize you're doing that, who's recognizing it? Your consciousness. So you're in your higher dimension. So you're saying, oh, look, I'm doing all of the. Okay, so your higher dimension, you're observing, you're becoming the observer. At that moment, you're observing what you're doing and you're stepping outside of the dip and you're embodying the essence of your greater self. Does that make sense?
It does. I see that very often when I do my sessions with the yoga, with the daily practice, and so on. And it's like interesting, like how I manage to work out with my being, with my super sensitivity and here and there. It's like that's why Kundalini yoga works for me, because like at the very beginning we start to chant, we focus our eyes here, we do the specific breathing, specific movement, align everything, and then my monkey mind gets like, oh, that's interesting, it's like, oh, it's interesting, and then cools down and quiets down. So after some time it just comes to that, the blissful moment when it's like that, as I call it, orgasmic being at that very moment, and being so high that everything is possible. And I say, like, I am the queen of my world, and it's absolutely fabulous. The everything, like I am one with everything. I can be anywhere I want. I can be with whoever I want. I can do whatever I want from that place, not ego mind, but that feeling like I am that universe. I am that God creator.
You see, what you've just done is you've used that as a not so much like a mechanism, but you've used that moment of when you're in a profoundly altered state, to step outside of yourself, outside of your corporeal self. So you use that. That's why, let's say, an athlete is in a peak moment, in a flow, they're entering that exact state. Or there's a musician and they're just like, you know, they're playing without thinking, or an actor when they're performing their part, they're no longer thinking. The conscious mind is suspended at that moment and they're in that state. In fact, that's the state where you can impress the desire on the superconscious or the unconscious and bring it about. And the question is always like, how would that feel if that were true? Because you're not trying to pretend, well, how would that feel? No, you're allowing the transmission from the unconscious to deliver the feeling. When you're able to stabilize the feeling, it's all about stabilizing the feeling, and for that feeling to be natural and normal, then the result that you're looking for becomes inevitable.
Exactly. Look at that. Adriana is writing beautifully. Love the magic Dominic shares with us in his every transmission. People, listen carefully, because you are receiving codes and reprogramming your subconscious right now. And that is so true. So thank you so much, Adriana, for bringing this like into the open. And yes, it's absolutely beautiful. And I love, and I always say, if you want to become something, someone else, or transit to one state to another, always learn from the best. Always learn from the best, and go there when you could be inspired by somebody else, like you actually like. It's like once upon a time, one of my students, she says like, oh my God, Wiola, you are like a little puppy. You're so excited with everything. I said, because it excites me. And I really like that. And it's just like, oh my God, it's so lovely. And then like, poof, everything lands. It's like magic wand. It just happens. And then, of course, I do get excited.
Well, I mean, it's inspiration, as you just mentioned. When you're inspired, you're in spirit. So you see, it's a state of inspiration, and I'm loving the comments.
Yeah.
Huge Elvis fan. Thank you. I take that as an absolute compliment.
Yeah, it's like, it's beautiful. You will meet Joanna on our urban retreat. She's our gong masteress. She will bring her 3 powerful, huge gongs, and the 4th one is already in Colette House. So we're going to have a very powerful event. So, and yes, you know, we are all very unique individuals with our own personal, beautiful touch, and it's such a privilege to be amongst such as stars. As I always say.
Likewise, you see, because when we're amongst powerful creators and people who are on a journey to not only improve and transform themselves, but to transform the world, that frequency begins to emit. You know, it only, what's quite interesting is that it only takes like 3% of a population to create major transformation. A lot of people aren't aware of that, but it's a small number that can create these really powerful ripple effects. You see, that's why the more that we embody the greatest expression of ourselves, and we live to our highest ideals, we give others permission to do that as well. We create these great ripple effects in the world.
Exactly. It's like always like very inspirational, and especially knowing that yes, sometimes we're more successful, sometimes less. And I like the times when I am more successful than less, obviously. It's just like, you know, the truth is that. And like kind of having that inner fire to inspire the others and say like, listen, if I did it, you can do it too. And this is the formula like that works for me. Your formula with that clinical hypnotherapy and NLP, and now it's like I see that this is changing to some other dimension, which I really love, and I love to tap into that lightness of being and actually creating things just like this, or even you don't have to really click your fingers, and it's really happening because we are so wired differently now.
Well, you see, because you know, there's in a lot of religious texts and philosophies, it's like there's an idea that creation's actually complete. So the desire that you want, it already exists. And actually, for the fact of the matter, it does. Like if you imagine something you want, it's there in one form. Even if we said it's your imagination, it's there. So if you physically write it down, you physically put something on paper. Maybe it's not yet in the precise form that you want, but it can first create in the imagination. And that's how everything is created to begin with anyway. You see, so it's there. So it comes not, you know, it's really learning to shift away from the wanting of that thing and embodying that frequency of receiving it and having it. And that's why the naturalness of that thing is so important, where you're in a place where it's already there. It becomes your everyday reality. And before you know it, the circumstances will appear. People get in their way when they think, well, I hope I make the right decision. It might be the wrong decision. Look, if the end is already determined, whatever decision you make is actually going to lead you to it. So if there's a blip on the way and it looks like it's some type of failure, it actually isn't. It's part of the path. It's part of your journey to receive the outcome that you're after. And that's why you can never have to really worry about, well, I might make the wrong decision or X, Y, Z. No, there's no wrong decision. If you've decided on the outcome that you want, and if you start doing something and you feel it's not right for you, you could walk away from anything at any time in your life. So someone might say, well, you know, if I apply for this job and it's not what I want, well, you don't have to continue doing it. Like, you can walk away from it. It holds true for anything. And this is why building the image of the ideal and happiness, like where, you know, you're in this state of fulfillment, you're in this state of gratitude, of things going from strength to strength, an absolute sense of embodiment. And the thing which we're touching upon a little bit earlier on is being in that state of equilibrium where you're in balance, the equilibrium, because, and the reason that's so powerful is because judgment is a place of imbalance. Like, this is good, this is bad, this is positive, this is negative. Guess what you're doing? You're judging. But when you're in equilibrium, there's no judgment. So you've stepped outside your human self. And this is why, okay, do
That might
you follow along? I'm going a little bit deeper.
tricky, you know, with the judgmental mind, and that, you know, most of us, it's like my mind in general. It's like I can see now after so many years of living and actually teaching Kundalini yoga and some other modalities. It's like, oh my God, how negative my mind is. My mind is a bitch. I was like, Jesus, how do I, you know, all the thing, how do I overcome that? How do I actually get from that jealousy, from that I am not good enough, to that actually, okay, you know, this is my universe, and the universe is like, I am the queen. This is my territory. On my territory, there are the special rules, and everyone who actually respects those rules is very welcome. Everyone who is not, sorry, but you're not there. But because of the alignment from before, I didn't think that I was worthy enough, and I allowed everyone to walk over my back. And like recently, I went to the concert on Monday, and it was beautiful and wonderful people, wonderful vibe. But after a while, standing for 3 hours, I was like, oh my God, you know, I just like, no, I don't want to stand anymore. I said, I'm going home. And they go like, no, mate, don't go yet. I said, you know what? They're just like, I can't do that. I mean, I cannot pretend that, you know, I'm happy when I'm actually hurting. And I left. And, you know, as soon as I walked off of those doors, I was like, oh, wow. The sense of liberation. For the first time in my life, I actually left something before the end. And it just, that sense of liberation, I was like, wow, finally, well done.
Well, I mean, you were honoring yourself, and that was your choice. So you didn't feel pressured by others. Now, the thing with judgment, look, you know, the mind will always judge. There's no overcoming it. It's like, do I have this for breakfast, or do I have this? Or do I eat here? Do I go there? Do I look like this pen? Do I not like? So the mind is constantly in this state of judgment. But guess what? That's your human self, right? So the moment you're stepping outside of that, you're embodying your essence, the essence of who you are, your higher self. When you see something undesirable in another's behavior or something that you don't like in this world, because there's a judgment call there, what you want to do is get to a place where you're back into equilibrium and balance. And the way that's done is, if you're judging something negatively, there's a problem because you've elevated yourself. Like, I'm good, this person's bad. Or if you see someone as great, well, that person's great, I'm not as good. So you're not in equilibrium. So if you see something undesirable or a behavior which you don't like, what you'll do is you'll take ownership. Well, I've been jealous before, I've been angry before, I've lied before, I've X, Y, and Z, because guess what? Every human being has. You're owning that, you're honoring, well, that is part of the human condition. I may no longer do that, but that's part of the human condition. So it's a state of consciousness that person is in. So you're not judging them. Does that make sense? And if someone's doing something incredibly well, you're not thinking, oh my God, how will I ever get there? It's like, well, you know, that person is embodying that state of consciousness, and we're all unconsciousness. I can learn to embody that state of consciousness. Or let's say that person is really creative. Well, you've been creative. That person's confident. Well, I've been confident in the past. So what you're doing is you're recognizing that's what's within them is within you. And when you do that, you evoke that, you bring that to the surface, and you live by that.
It's like, I really love the title of this book, End Gamers, the Architects of Destiny. That's very interesting title. What inspired you to actually
yeah, I mean, because first of all, it's re-engineering backwards, because whenever you imagine something you want, you're actually not imagining the process of getting there, you're imagining the end result. Right. And everything first starts in the imagination, which is inescapable. So by bringing your attention to the ideal, like tranquility, happiness, abundance, flow, right? And then an architect of destiny. I mean, that's an interesting one, because when I was a little boy at school, that was, I wanted to one day grow up and become an architect. I didn't follow that route, but I've got a connection and love architecture. But architecture of destiny, architects of destiny, it's like design. You know, if people can design homes or the inside of their houses, why not design your mind? Like, create the architecture of your life, and then start living into it. When you see it as an inevitable, it will occur. And it occurs not by micromanaging and thinking a million one things. It's by the inspired action. Like, this feels right, and you start moving in that direction. And if something goes upside down, it's just like you're learning to step outside of those moments, because that's your human self, that's your ego. And then you're embodying your essence, and that takes you back on track. You cannot fail.
So highly inspired action, right?
Yes.
Let me put that
Absolutely.
here. Highly inspired action. I like that. I like those kind of sentences. It's like, now I really hear them, and when I hear them, I can feel them, and they kind of like click somewhere into my mind. And especially, as I said before, like, now I'm into that manifesting things like with ease, with like without really having to struggle. It's like I struggle all my life, with different things. So now I'm kind of like, okay, I've done suffering, I've done that. Thank you so much. It's like, yes, I can honor myself. Thank you. I've done that. Now, the other part of life, it's like about that instant manifestation. And if I can't do it, then who are the people who can? And then learn from them. How do they do it? Find the path, the easy path. So, yes, the path of least resistance, as they call it.
And this is why, like, one of the things I touch upon in the book, and I've always said, is like your natural genius and the things that you desire, like inherent in the desire, the mechanics for the fulfillment of that desire. And when you're doing something that you love, that you believe in, you're activating the frontal lobe of the brain, the most evolved parts of the brain. So you're in a transmission state there. And like gravity, things start coming to you. So the better you become, the more ease things appear. But when you're in resistance, that's when you're doubting yourself, or you're doubting your capability, or X, Y, and Z. And the reality is, like, the only things that you can't achieve are the things that you have no desire for, or that you don't want, or you have no interest in. If it's someone else's values and you're trying to force it, it won't work. So if you had a spouse or a parent or a partner, X, Y, and Z, that's trying to force you to do something you have no interest in, yeah, it's not going to work out. Like, you might get some certificate,
Never
but
did.
it doesn't work. It just doesn't work for anyone. It literally does not. At best, it's mediocre and misery. But when it's like, well, I'm inspired by this, this is what I'm going to do. And this is why, if I said to you, look, you know, I have a friend who he is one of the biggest soft drink distributors in Europe. So he has around an 80 million turnover a year, a lot of money. So we'd say, well, did he have a great desire to distribute soft drinks? No, he had a desire for business. He had a desire to create something, structures, distribution that will bring residual income. So yes, that was in his alignment of what he wanted. Do you see? So it's like getting to the essence of that thing that you want. So the essence, let's say, of wealth is not. Oh, continue. Sure.
Yeah. No. The essence of wealth, that good one. No, it's just what the question is, like, how do you really find what is my essence? What is it that I really want? Because, like, some people, they know straight away. You were young, you knew that you wanted to be the architect, appeared that you are the architect of the mind. But for some people, many people, like, I got like many clients and colleagues and so on, we talk about it, like, but you know what? I've done so many things. I have no idea what to do.
What I do, this is a very powerful question, and I learned it from one of my mentors, Brian Tracy. And what it is, this will give you the answer right away. You ask someone, okay, you don't know what to do. Let's say you have all the money in the world, all the contacts in the world, all the education in the world, or anyone there that will open absolutely any door for you. You can do absolutely anything you want. You have all the time in the world, all the reason. What would you do? Right, they're not going to go, well, I've got no idea. No, they'll say, well, I'll be traveling, or I'll start a foundation, or I'd like to, create a change in the world, or X, Y, Z. You'll start drawing out what they really want. They might say, well, I'll start building multiple businesses, X, Y, and Z, but you've just stripped away all the excuses, because the reason they say they don't know is because they think, well, I don't have the education, I'm not smart enough, not the right gender, not the right race, not the right X, Y, and Z. So they're putting all these barriers and these resistance points in place. But when you clear that, you'll find the answer coming to the surface. The other thing which gives you indication is when you look early on in your childhood, like really early on, those things that were so natural for you, that you used to dream about, that you used to think about, you'll find that some real clues in that. If you look at Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, right, two of the richest men on the entire planet, they were obsessed by Star Trek. They were obsessed by space travel, right? So as children, that might have appeared really quirky, or that's ridiculous, but look what's happening now. You see, there's a lot within one's beginnings that give indicators, and it's the things that you feel a natural affinity towards that you're leaning into. So we can say Einstein was a genius, but if you gave him something he had no interest in, like some type of sports or politics, he'll be probably pretty stupid at that. We'll have no clue about it because there's no interest. But if you look at the thing that you incline towards, that's your gift from God. And desires are there for consent. And that's something I learned from Catherine, who is one of my mentors, and she'll be speaking at that event. The thing of, if you desire something, it's for you to agree upon that. It's for you to consent to it. It's not to debate, well, how am I going to get the money for it? Am I smart enough? No, it's for you to, it's just pure agreement.
So you just say yes. As I say to on my sessions, you just have to say yes to life. Whatever
Exactly.
comes, you just say yes. That's what I was talking about, my kind of birthday presents, as they kind of the things that I dreamt of,
Yes.
they kind of happened at the same time. The invitation flew in, and for me, it was just to say yes. But at first, I was like, oh my God, I can't afford that. How am I going to do this, and that? So from June, July, and August, I was like different places in the world because I said yes. And it happened. It unfolded beautifully, and it was even greater that I could have ever imagined.
Amazing. And that it's something to think about. Like, what if things work out for you like more wonderfully than you ever imagined, and you have that in your mind? Let it occur. I remember there's a quote from, I think it's Paulo Coelho's Alchemist, but it is a quote from Paulo Coelho where he says, like, life has a way of like nothing happening at all and then everything happening in one go, which is such a truism, such a truism, but it's to plant the right seeds. And that comes from maintaining that state of equilibrium, of happiness, of expecting the very best. One of the quotes from my book I say is remembering the future and predicting the past. Right. So remembering the future means that you're embodying it with such certainty that it becomes inevitable. And predicting the past, you start doubting the past, start doubting limitations. You see, doubt has a time and place. Fear has a time and place. Why not fear not fulfilling your potential? So it drives you to fulfill your potential. Why not doubt limitations or perceived limitations, have confusion about limitations, and embrace your authentic self fully and completely? You
Yes,
see,
when we are drawn, I mean, when we are trapped by fear, um, like I won't be able to do that. It's like I I am ashamed, or that I will not be, speaking good English or something. I came here, I was 23, a long time ago, and I just knew I love you from the movies, and I've learned along the way I don't understand. And still, it's like, even though, well, I think that I speak quite okay, sometimes I find myself that I will go like, and then as soon as I start to think about it, I was just like, oh, I start to look for the words, and it's not flowing, and I feel very stressed, and like all the it's happening. But once I forget about that, like, okay, we're in the flow, just like, so nice to talk to you. And
yes.
so everything flows, and it's like completely different dimension, completely different. So how to keep that level of that equilibrium, not to give in to fear, to limiting beliefs, that whatever was implanted before, like how to
Sure.
get rid of those implants.
Well, I think firstly, like, um, we are the sum total of what we eat and what we think and what we consume. And consumption can also happen through the eyes and through the ears, like what we take in, what we hear. So if someone is inundated with, and this is an interesting fact, right? 70% of the news within 12 months is completely inaccurate and it's not real. So someone's been consuming a whole bunch of stuff that's completely unsubstantiated. It's not real, and they've worked themselves up over something. Why not just watch a drama on Netflix and get a little kick out of that, right? As opposed to watching the news. Like, detox yourself from negative information, and unless there's something that you can do to help someone, then you do it. So it's kind of like detoxing yourself from negativity and learning to recognize that what fear is, it's a projection of some future event that hasn't occurred. So that's what fear is. You're imagining some future event going wrong. So it's not even real. No matter what you say, even you say, well, it could happen, but it might happen. Look, nothing has happened. So that's someone who isn't thinking accurately. So And when we look at limitations, well, you know, what if I'm not good enough for X, Y, and Z? Look, these things appear, they also serve a purpose because they're there for you to really work on yourself. If you're a little bit self-conscious, great. So you dress well, you learn to speak well, you become your best self. So these little things, the only time they're a problem is if they immobilize one, right? So they have a time and place, but there's a time to let go of all of that. And when you're in the present moment and when you're in a flow state, it's learning to recognize how that feels. When you recognize how that feels, you can take yourself into a place where you start stabilizing it and it becomes the norm. It becomes who you are. This is the highest level of self-concept psychology that there is. If you embody a state long enough, it becomes habitual. You no longer have to think about it. You walk through the world as your greatest expression of you.
You know, it's like I feel like $1 million. No, it's true. It's so lovely, you know, to speak to the people like you, to be in the presence like you. It's just like for that moment, like we are here for that short time. It's just like my aura grew. I have wings. I have everything. I'm kind of like levitating now. So being around the inspirational people, like the people that are blowing the good winds into your wings, is just absolutely amazing. And I wanted to thank you because you agreed to come to this urban retreat second edition again to share your beautiful expertise and to share so abundantly. And I had like many people asking like, oh, is the Dominic's going to be there? Because, you know, it's like coming specially to have that session like we had it before. So what is it? Can you share a little bit, just a little bit, because of course we want people to come to experience us reality. It's like what they can expect. What will you share? It's like how will you teach, share, inspire, whatever the word is.
I'm going to be delivering some of the most powerful visualizations that I guarantee no one has heard before. I've been in this field for a long time, like, you know, close to 20 years. Recently, actually in June, I had the honor of working with the co-founder of NLP, Dr. Richard Bandler, who's the guy who literally made hypnotherapy famous. I spent 3 days with him. And there are things that I've seen through the years and that I've learned that haven't really come yet to the public eye. So I'll be covering some really, really powerful visualization techniques there and working on the audience in a way to bring out the greatest version of themselves. So not only that they feel inspired, but get them into a place where they can stabilize those states and take themselves from strength to strength. Because wherever they've been or however low they may have been or difficulties, I've been there. It's some of the most difficult experiences that any human being has ever experienced. I've gone through it. So it's not that I'm coming from a place of not knowing. I know the depths of depression to the heights of ecstasy, you know, the contrast of both and how one can pull themselves out of difficulties to build an absolutely inspiring and charmed life. And that's available to everyone. So I'll be covering quite a lot during the retreat in a way to take things to that next level. In fact, it's quite interesting. In February, I called a bunch of my friends and I said to them, look, what we're going to do, and this was before the first retreat, I said, look, we're going to ensure that this becomes the most productive and effective year of our entire lives. There were 5 of us there. And subsequently, I mean, we would meet once a month. Well, one of them has raised 100 million investment for his hedge fund. The other went from a 1 million valuation to a 10 million valuation. There's another one who not only was an CEO Entrepreneur of the Year, but has done some absolutely outstanding things. Like each and every one of us within that group has gone on taking ourselves to astronomical levels. I'm going to be bringing that to our group. I want everyone to really walk away, not only inspired, but on the path to living their greatest dreams.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Yes, I'm already there. It's like, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm already there. Like,
I'm
it's
feeling
like,
it.
it's just like, I'm already there. We know the space. The space is fabulous and it's so lovely. And the people that are coming and all the speakers and everyone, it's like, we are all what we are doing, we are living it. And it's just like expanding, accelerating, and looking for the best and easiest paths.
Of course, yeah. The path of least resistance, the path that is natural, the path that is full of joy. Because here's the thing as well, look, if someone loves boxing, for example, it may look like a struggle to others, but it's not for them because they love doing that. You see, so there's the joy in that thing. When I was giving you the example of Einstein, there was the joy in those calculations. If someone hates science, there's no joy in that. Do you see? So when you're following your path and you're leaning into your natural inclinations and the things that you feel drawn towards, when something may appear like a struggle to the outside world, but it's something that you're actually enjoying.
Yeah, it's like for
It's all
me, exactly doing this morning yoga every day, which I do it to the way I like it. I like it. It has to be nice and easy, flowing movement, singing, chanting, whatever that is, like beautiful meditation. And it's like, why are you doing this for so many years? I said, you know what? Because I love it. It's like I love the way I feel afterwards, and I love the whole being. Sometimes the mind is like tricky bitch, and she doesn't want to do it, and
Mm,
it's like, oh God, it's like. It's like again here, it's like that fluctuation comes, but then
sure.
I know that at the end, when I say that's final Satnam, or thank you all for tuning in today, it's like that. So
Wow.
instead of regret, like, oh, I didn't do it, I'd rather stay in bed, whatever, nothing's going to happen. Of course, will not happen, nothing will happen, but I will have that sense of like, I actually cheated on myself. I didn't do what actually makes me feel good, what
Yes.
keeps my mind at peace, at least for that moment. Because for that moment of that practice, it's like my mind is on some other dimension, and it's
Mm.
like very expansive, very calm, and like really like see beyond that veil of everyday life.
That's fantastic. And as you've been doing that, you see the contrast of the difficulty, and then with it comes the ease and the happiness and the flow. You see, it's learning to enjoy the process of both. Even those difficult moments of learning to overcome yourself or step outside of yourself during those difficult moments, they're all there for a purpose. And they give you the contrast to really thoroughly enjoy life fully.
Exactly. So that's how we are, the end gamers. And now I wanted to read what is the end gamer, because I really like that. The
Yeah.
end gamer, the definition, the end gamer is a noun. Definition of end gamer: a master strategist, a master, right? Not like whatever, a
Yeah.
master. So you got to master your mind, right? A master strategist who is never constrained by reality, adept at evoking the requisite feelings that turn imagination into tangible form, an architect of destiny. And I love it. It's like
Thank
I'm going to have that somewhere written, tattooed
you.
on my feet somewhere. So I see it every day as that reminder, especially at those times when there's like the
Mm,
sinus goes lower, and just like, oh, the winter is coming and so on, the rain, it's like we all get into that funny mood sometimes.
yeah.
So we got to have reminders like this.
I'm so glad you like that. It took so much thought, but yeah, that's it. That's what it is.
Uh-huh.
Evoking those feelings, turn your imagination into tangible form. Let everyone do it.
Exactly, having that inspirational quote to lift from one state of awareness to another, to transform, if you like, to transform that negative into positive, to that darkness to the light, as we call it in yoga, the guru. The guru
Yeah.
is the darkness, and the Ra is the sun. So how transit from the darkness to the light? It's like when I do those morning session, like right now, it's quite dark. And my friends, they say, like, why do you do this at that ungodly hour?
Mm.
And I said, you know what? I do it at the ungodly hour because many people at this very time are asleep. And all the universe is there for me.
That's beautiful. Like you're just, that's expansive, that's allowing, and that's receiving, and seeing yourself, you know, as you know, not one with you are the universe, right? This is it. You are the universe.
Yes, and all of that is available for everybody. The same
Mm,
like that, designing
mm.
our destiny. It's available for everyone and for everybody. Yet not everyone is aware of that, or
Yes,
is
yeah.
willing, to actually do a little bit of workout.
It,
The
mm. It's just the level of awareness at that time. And that's why, look, because we're such social creatures, if they were amongst people that are moving in that direction, then you don't even have to say anything. They'll naturally want to know more, and they'll start applying themselves, they'll start believing in themselves. Ecology is so important. And that's why one of the things I was emphasizing to you a little bit earlier, of like kind of detox from any negative news and X, Y, and Z, and just, you know, allow your eyes to see the very best. And when the world is in conflict, look and imagine at the ultimate best outcome for everyone, like for peace. And then by all means, I think it's important to give charity and things like that. But one of the most, and the most important thing, is just to see the outcome, things working out beautiful, see human beings in peace with one another. Why? Because by doing that, even if you say, well, that isn't the case right now, but if you keep imagining that, it will alter your behaviors. You will set examples. You'll respond differently to others. You'll set the example for peace and for happiness for all and abundance. We live in an ever expanding universe. There's no such thing as limitation or limited resources. It's all a lie that people have been sold on. It's absolutely, absolutely, completely incorrect and cannot be substantiated. You know, we're living in an expanding universe that is expanding so quickly that, you know, even the numbers, you can't write the numbers down in your lifetime. You know, you have mediocre asteroids that are very easy to reach, that have more resources like precious metals than the entire planet. Like there's no shortage of anything. If we say there's a shortage of oil, well, you have electricity. There's a million and one other things. You know, the world is suffering from, well, not the whole world, but the US has a obesity epidemic. It's not like there's a shortage of anything. The whole planet is expanding. So if we live in this expansive consciousness, right, and in this abundance, then we set the path for others. You see, without limitation, there's enough for all.
exactly. That's so nice. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Well, I wanted to say something, but no. It's like, no.
Mm.
Yes. I mean, in a way, you can expand through those polarities, through inspiration and through the jealousy.
Yes.
Because it's like, that's what I see, like how it is. Like when you are inspired, you, oh my God, I would love to do that. And then we can kind of share. But through the jealousy, we also get inspired, like, oh, he or she has it better. So there is the competition.
Yes.
So I'm going to drive myself to be better than she or he. And I got like those couples that I know them for 20, 30 years, and they've been in competition with each other.
Mm.
That one bought the house, the other bought the house better. This got the new car, the other got the new car. So it was like, all the time, like, but actually, in a way, it brought them to that abundance.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it all serves a purpose. There's a Robert Greene. He's the author of The 48 Laws of Power Seduction. He's wrote many great books, and on a podcast, he was speaking about how one of his students started to make a lot more than him and build a huge production company. And he was saying he was the famous author, and his student is suddenly flying. Goes, I felt jealousy. However, out of that, it evoked in me an ability to create even greater work. So he went on to write more books. You see, so it's like how you utilize those emotions. They all serve a purpose. Whatever emotion appears in the body serves a purpose. Therefore, we can't deny it. And that's why if you see someone's really angry, you go, oh, why are they so angry? Yeah, but you've been angry in the past. Like
Oh God,
you can't attack that
my
because
life is fueled by anger.
yeah. It's really about learning to manage the emotions as effectively as possible, but also the non-judgment aspect, where when you see something undesirable, you take ownership because that's within you. You've experienced that at some stage. And then on the same front, not elevating any human being, just looking at what they're doing well and recognizing that you do things well and you have those capacities. That way you're in equilibrium, and this power that flows through you is impartial, right? That power is there for everyone. So you're just tapping into it, aligning with it.
Wonderful. Oh my God, we can talk and talk and talk and talk, but it's like the time is like coming to an, oh my God, and we were supposed to talk only for 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's nearly an hour. Okay.
Oh, almost an hour. God. No, but that was very inspirational. So thank you so much. And I'm so looking forward to, again, to see you and be with you during our urban retreat and create even nicer and better and more elevated space for the people to learn and to come fulfilled and with the new tools to how to manifest the life they desire effortlessly, with easy to find the people like-minded that are looking into the same direction, that are trying to, or like going away from the drama and the and negativity that is there, or the false newses, but rather like taking that energy from there and going with the flow towards the new goal, towards the new future, towards that really beautifully that desired outcome, that you are already there and having that feeling, and yes, and just inspiring the others.
Fantastic. It's going to be one of the most transformational days of everyone's life. So yeah, absolutely looking forward to it. Thank you once again for inviting me, not only for the this podcast here, but also for the for a speaker at the event. I feel very honored.
Dominic, if someone wanted to see you earlier, where are you visible, where they can meet you or learn from you?
Well, I have the a new expanded edition of Endgamers, which will be released in a couple of weeks' time in the US, and then they're going to bring it over to the UK. So a lot of information will be in there. My social media channels. I'm not working with one-on-ones at present. But there's plenty of information out there, and from my Instagram to my LinkedIn, it's all available. Knight_mentoring is my Instagram, and yeah, there's a lot of activity going on there.
And I love it because when you do it, this is like 30 seconds or so, some essence there, and you're just like, of course.
This is a yeah.
Because this is it. You don't need to really, read those millions of books over there. It's like now in that very advanced world that we are so in a rush everywhere and everything speeds up. This is very crucial to give that essence.
Well, one of the things I said in the book is change at the speed of thought. So yes, speed has a time and place. But so is absolutely living in the moment. We don't know how many moments we have, so literally like savor it, like enjoy every moment of life.
Yes, like for me also, yes, the speed is one thing, but then another very important thing It's like to slow down, to
Mm.
reset, to have that, to create that space within and around for that thought to plant its seeds so it can truly bloom and blossom into that beautiful manifestation effortlessly, instead of like, I have to do this, oh, another deadline. Oh,
Sure. That's forcing it,
yeah,
and that never works.
yeah.
You
So just,
see, it's like, maybe a bit of an oxymoron, but look, if you want to get things done quickly, you slow down. Someone who's about to go to race, let's say 100 meters, what's the first thing they do? They step back and they pause and then they launch, you see. And a lot of it is in the preparation. You see, a rocket to go into space, 60% of its fuel is used just in the takeoff. It's just like, we'll prepare. You can just relax, let things happen.
okay, cool. So now is the time for us to relax.
This
Thank
is
you.
it.
Thank you so much for all your inspirational explanations and planting those seeds within our consciousness, like how to do, how to manifest, how to release, and how to let go, and how to do it lightly and with joy. Very
Thank you
nice.
once again, and I look forward to seeing everyone on the 6th of October.
That's been a pleasure.
Amazing. Much love. Speak soon.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Okay, bye. Good night.